Good morning, everybody. Thank you for listening and or watching. I am Tom King with my business partner in crime, real estate mogul Terrence Stevens, and you are tuning in to another episode of our podcast, The Business of Life in Black and White, where we go a couple different directions from work to play. Two different guys with very different perspectives who have gotten pretty good at leaning on each other. So I think today we're going to go a little off script, and Mr. Terrence Stevens is going to kind of lead the charge. So,
And I can't wait. Good morning from the East Coast to the West Coast, down south and up north. This one's just going to be a little more personal, not directly related to business, but just the idea of who you are when nobody's around, right? Who you are when nobody's watching and you don't have to take care of anybody else. But the idea of taking care of yourself from the very beginning of the day or before you start anything else. So I just want to dive in with you, Tom, right? As we have listeners who really might struggle with this, really might struggle with the idea of what do I need to do for myself before I pour into others? What are you finding out in your day to day that you're doing to make sure that you're pouring from a full cup instead of from an empty one?
sure. It's funny. You're always so good at telling me to have grace with myself, whether it's personally, professionally, and I think that's what I would start with, right? This thing for me has been such an ebb and a flow over the years, and there's different
Mm-hmm.
times where I'm in a season where I do something specific, and there's times where I change and don't do as much or do something
Yeah.
totally different. So it's just kind of an ebb and flow. You know, we're in a season just personally where our daughter's off at college and she's home now for the summer, but Lord, she don't need me to do anything other than to stroke a check at the University of Alabama. And
There it is.
little Huck Finn is driving himself around everywhere, and he's always been independent. So for us, it's weird. It's we've got all this time to do things for ourselves, and yet
Mm-hmm.
it becomes then a struggle, which is odd. So I guess long ramble. I'll tell you, like, the one thing that I've dove back into, and it's only been a couple weeks. I was right after you and I started this, whatever that message I heard at church really kind of rocked me. And I have just got back into a really good rhythm. Now that it's getting bright so early, it's so much
Mm-hmm.
easier for me to wake up early. And
Yep.
pretty much every morning at about 6 o'clock, I'll just, no alarm, no nothing. I pop up out of bed and get a cup of coffee, and I go sit on my dock, not to rub it in, but
Yeah.
and I will, man, just close my eyes and pray for a while. And man, just that simple act of just bringing peace to yourself and thinking about others and that kind of stuff. I mean, gratitude is seemingly the most overused word in the dictionary these days, but it really is. You just take the center off yourself and start thinking about other people and just how lucky you are and all that kind of stuff. And that's been a game changer for me the last 2 weeks. I can
Nice.
feel just
Yep.
happier and
Yeah.
better every day. So
Yeah, sick. You know why I ask? I mean, we live very different lives, and that's why this
yep.
is such an oxymoron. And the idea of this podcast is I don't have a spouse. I don't have kids. My mother is not around. She's up north, so I don't have to naturally take care of any parents or anything like that. So for years, my biggest focus and way more intentionally as I've gotten older is how am I pouring into myself? How am I really being intentional with the time I use for myself at the beginning of the day? And probably since I've been a kid, it has been about waking up early. And I have a natural alarm clock. It might be 4 o'clock in the morning. It might be five. But once I'm up, and there's a tenacity about being up. It's not a sluggish roll out of bed. I'm up. It's quiet. There are no birds chirping. The trains and the planes and the cars are not moving. I am one of the few people that are up in the morning. And because of that, it's kind of that sacred time, right? And so what I've loved about that is just how sacred I make it. There is a wake up, take a shower. There's a routine, right? Wake up, take a shower, brush your teeth, thank God, meditate, but then I'm to the gym. More times than not, I'm to the gym just so I can get that sweat going. And as a matter of fact, this morning, as I told you, I rode my bike to the gym, and that was like the breeze, the people walking on the belt line. there was something so relieving about that. And now I've come back, biked back, did my workout, ate breakfast, and 10 o'clock is my new cutoff time, right? I tell people from the hours of 6 to 10, don't bother me. That is my sacred time. And now from 10 to, because I don't have kids and a wife, about 8 o'clock,
Yep.
you can contact me. You can lean in on me. You can ask me questions. You can bother me all you want. But I've done what I needed to do for myself while nobody was awake or even there to bother. So at some point in the last couple of years, I asked you a very important question. And as I hear it from you, that question has really resonated with your spirit because you've been married for how many years?
This will be 22.
So you've been married for 22 years. And I asked you a question one day about your wife, who I love dearly. Shout out to Amanda King, because she is a rock. And if anybody knows her, you know exactly what I mean. But I asked a question one day, who or what would you be if Amanda wasn't around? And I think for whatever reason that really stuck with you, because 22 years is a long time. It sounds like half of your life.
Yeah.
And so there hasn't been much thought of who would I be if, but in a lot of cases, there is an importance for individuality among those of us who carry a lot on our backs, right? So I'll ask the same question. Who would you be? What would you be if your spouse was not here today?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I was thinking about it this morning as we got ready to do this. I don't remember why the question came up. I just remember whatever question you asked me, I answered Amanda in my kind of roles and responsibilities with her. And then you almost immediately, the way I recollect it, kind of responded back with that. Well, what would you be without Amanda? And you admitted, like, I don't want to make this morbid, like you were just asking a very honest question. And yeah, I don't know why, dude. You know me, I don't spend a whole lot of time thinking about stuff. I don't know why it rocked the crap out of me, but it
Yeah.
did, and I thought about it. I mean, that was probably 8 years ago or 7 years ago. You asked me that question.
Was it that
I don't
long? No
remember.
way.
Yeah, I don't even remember what my answer was. I know it wasn't good. But you caught me off guard with it, and I think I just went down the rabbit hole of, well, then the kids, then whatever. And as I was thinking about it this morning, obviously she means the world to me, and I will be with her forever. And I pour my heart and my soul into her every day. And I love our kids, and I pour my heart and soul into them. And to your point, we're moving into a different season where they're not going to be around as much. And her and I have really taken the last couple of weeks and tried to develop some better habits of mostly me just being more open and talking to her and just sitting down
Yeah, I
and
love that.
calm and patient and talking about things that I would consider trivial, but she just loves that stuff. And I got to stop stealing it from her. So we've done some of that stuff, but to answer your question, yeah, it's, I think God kind of gives us all, just call it spiritual gifts, call it whatever. And I think I've just learned that personally, and then even professionally, because my business is so personal too, that I'm just here to give of myself to other people. I don't worry about money. I don't worry about somebody cutting me off in traffic. I don't worry about whether I did something for someone and they abused that. Like, God has just kind of gifted me with the ability to do what I think he wants me to do, and do what I think, he thinks is right, and then just completely release me from that. So, I mean, you've seen it. I'll do a deal and my team will screw something up, and I'll say, well, screw it. We got to make it right. We'll just do it for free.
Yeah.
We'll write a $10,000 check because we told somebody something in good faith and we were wrong, or whatever it is. And man, when I tell you, I don't lose sleep over that. I do not lose sleep over that.
That's powerful.
It's the, the whole refresh others and you too shall be refreshed thing, right? I think when no one else is around, that's who I am. And that's what makes me happy. And I think it just makes me, to your point, a better person. It makes me a better husband. Like, I don't know. I can give everything I got to anybody.
Dude, I'm going to interject with two words. And there are two words that you had quite the impact on teaching me. Um, and those two words are vulnerability and obedience, right? Um, for those of you who don't know, Tom, uh, 8 years ago, randomly decided to invite me. Unbeknownst to him, I'd never been out of the country, but he decided to invite me to Haiti on a mission trip.
It was the
And
first day we,
it
right?
was
That
the
was the very,
first day we ever met, and arguably one of the worst seasons in my life because I had nothing. I had no money, I had no job, I had no car. I was damn near being evicted from the space I was living in. And what I was doing was trying to commit to my business in that moment. And we were in a bold class, and the process of getting from that bold class, that March, to Haiti in June was daunting at times. I had to fundraise, and I'm like, how am I fundraising money if I don't have any money to even go on? I mean, it was just every twist and turn. I just felt like this isn't going to work. I don't know what I'm doing. But one of the things I remember is in January for my birthday of that year, I had enough money. And the one thing that I told myself I was going to do was buy a passport. I heard the spirit say, you don't have to get ready if you stay ready. And that was my gift to myself in my 25th year of life, was that passport. Now, fast forward to March, Tom asked me to go on a trip, and I needed a passport, and look who already had it, right? There was something about the obedience of the spirit telling me to do something and then already having what I needed. So there was no excuse. But I fast forward to going to Haiti,
you still
and
tried to bail like 4 times.
I tried to bail. I mean, I tried to bail so many times. It was unbelievable. So much so that I needed a friend to come with me, and I just needed to feel a little bit more security there. But fast forward to Haiti, getting there by the grace of God, and the idea of being in that trip was to serve. And I remember going on that trip saying, I don't have anything to give. Like, what am I here to give? And there was a moment where I just was losing it. And I just, there was some bad news going on back home. And I probably just kind of bailed on some responsibilities back at home. But the idea was to serve, not be served. And I remember walking out in the middle of a dirt road and just crying my eyes out. And I didn't know the space I was in, but Tom said, I felt like this before. And the only thing I remember doing is relinquishing all of that to God, being obedient. And in that moment, that was the most vulnerable space I've ever been in, because I was essentially trusting a stranger with being out of the country, serving in Haiti, and for the first time, having very little to give. But you broke my heart wide open in that moment, and it was what cemented our relationship. Um, because I remember it for the rest of my life. And those two words, being vulnerable in a season of feeling like you have nothing to give, but then turning around and every step of the way being obedient to serving in Haiti, I left feeling so full. And it dawned on me then, and it's still dawning on me, that even in the space of giving and being in a space of serving, you have no clue how much it will always come back to you. Because when you are obedient to God, when you take care of yourself, when you take care of others, you will receive the blessings, you will receive the perspective. And there was no better time in my life to receive that perspective. It changed my life. And so I come back full circle to, who would you be without those in your life, such as Amanda or your kids or my family or the people who were on that trip? And the answer is nothing. You would be nothing, because these people are so pivotal to the moments of your life, right? And so shout out to you for your serving heart and just having faith that your request for my presence on that trip would go this far. Okay, 8 years later, we are thick as thieves. You have seen me through some times, and I have seen you through some times, right? But the idea of everything that we're talking about today is the requirement of taking care of yourself, right? Taking care of your own mental, your own physical, your own spiritual before you pour into others. But when you get to that space, when you are presented with the opportunity to take care of others, do it from an authentic space. Do it from a heart of just a heart of vulnerability and nothing. And I've seen you do this almost better than anybody in my life. You will never be in lack. You will never be in a lack because you are using what has been gifted to you to share with others. But you cannot do that if you don't already have the mindset. You don't already have the perspective to share. So
that makes me think of a couple things, right? Is one is, the answer to your question then is you and I are probably the same person when everybody else is gone, right? Someday, Amanda's gonna be gone, and someday, kids are gonna be wherever they're gonna be, and we're just gonna be the same person giving to somebody else, right? There's always gonna be somebody in and around, and whoever just happens to be presented in front of us is who we're gonna serve and who we're gonna be. And as you're saying that, I'm thinking of something my dad told me. I was in college, maybe, or right out of college. I think it was still in college. And I got the opportunity to coach our community, like, I don't know, Little League travel team or whatever it was. I mean, these kids were 14 and 15 years old, and I was maybe 21. So every other coach in this ritzy little suburb in Pennsylvania was all these old curmudgeony guys with all this experience. And here comes this knucklehead kid. And we won the whole thing. First time we'd ever won the championship, and everybody kind of lost their mind, and everybody hated us because we, just whatever. And I remember when it was all over, I made a comment to my dad. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was something like, I don't really know if I actually did anything here. Like, what does this really even mean? Is this even important? And, paraphrasing, because it was a long time ago, my dad said something back to me like, you have no idea, and you probably never will have any idea what impact you might have had on it. Just takes one of these kids to have something about this experience to change the trajectory of their life. And I think about you and I in that regards a lot. It's just, you never know when you pour yourself out to people what can come, and don't ever miss that opportunity. And that, like, you walk in the belt line, that kind of stuff, like, you just never know. Like,
no clue.
You might sell somebody a house. You might also find somebody who also almost died on a hospital bed like you did, and has to mentally go through that, right? You don't know. And if you don't, to your point, if I don't go to CrossFit every day and get my mind right and get my body right so that I can be ready to go, like, maybe I won't be ready when that person rings the phone.
So. Isn't that the reason why we are in this business, right? There is a lot of businesses to be in. There's a lot of ways to interact with people, but I have never, and to your point, that thought was cemented in my mind when I was on that hospital bed, going through yet another like life-changing incident. But hearing from the hospital bed, you have the waiting room packed. It is at capacity with the amount of people who want to come see you. And it was in that moment I realized I was doing the right thing, because the people that were there to see me were many of our clients who were friends, including yourself, right? And this business, just last year, I unfortunately had the opportunity to deal with 2 different deaths of clients that I did not expect coming, rocked my world. But it was my responsibility to make to tie up a really tough time for other people because I was there to start that time when I helped them purchase the house. And so we are in positions as I'm growing in this business, and obviously a lot less of experience than you or many other people, but I'm now seeing just how important it is to be in this position. We get to see life, we get to see death, we get to see marriage, we get to see divorce, we get to see so many different pivotal moments of people's lives. And even as I share the space I'm in right now, we also get to lean on people when we need space, right? How can I put people in space and then be afraid to lean on them when I need it? And so I am not currently in my house because I'm undergoing renovations, but I had about 180 people I could call because these people understand just how important I was in their lives and how important they could be in my life. And so it is extremely important. I wouldn't do anything else. I'm so glad that this is where I started my professional career because the perspective gained from this is be a be a major part of people's lives. Come from contribution, good old KW, right? Come from contribution, but be unafraid to peel back the layers of yourself and be just as vulnerable as you need to be. Because we're in a space where we need vulnerability. People need to trust us because these are major milestones, major important moments of life. And without us, it wouldn't be happening. And without them, we wouldn't be fulfilled. We wouldn't be full every day. So as we end this thing, right? What are some words you can leave with people about how important it is to take care of self so that you can take care of others?
Yeah. It's something I think I've done for a while, unconsciously, I guess, in somewhat of an effort, right? Whether it's reading or listening to podcasts or whatever. I remember a long time ago sitting in Buckhead Church and Andy Stanley saying something effective, like, especially us men, you have no idea how important the things you let in are.
Mm,
So whether it's, and he even called it out, are you listening to music that degrades women? Are you
mm,
listening to music that degrades other races? Are you, whatever, what are you allowing in? Because it's human nature. Like, it's going to be impossible for that not to come out,
mm,
right? So I've always been super diligent until my buddy got me hooked on country music here, which is probably why I drink so much now. But super diligent about, just listening to the right music. And, I'm the jerk at the gym when a rap song comes on with all the F bombs. I go over to coach and I'll be like, hey, could you do me a salad and skip this song? And she's always super sweet about it, right? Like, you got to be so careful about what you put in. You and I are both exercise junkies, and that, man, I love the camaraderie and the competition of CrossFit, but
yeah,
man, I'm doing it so that I've got the energy to
yeah.
spin around at 11 o'clock at night when he wants to go night fishing, right? It's got to build this bank account full of stuff so that, like we
Yeah,
said, you can be ready to go. And yeah, I just love it, man. I love people have no idea what it means to give to other people. And you and I have had this conversation over the years. The most challenging clients you and I have are the ones who don't trust us. It's the
mm,
ones that are trying to contradict everything we say or go look up stuff and try to tell us why we're wrong. And like, listen, I get there's people like that, but that's not, I'm giving you way more honest, trustworthy than anybody else in this business will. And if you don't want, then that's okay, but go do it with somebody else because you're going to break my heart in the process.
yep,
I do
yep,
not possess the capacity, emotionally to be
yeah,
untrusted. That's what I'm giving to you. So either
yep,
accept it or I'm of no value to you. So
yeah. I love that. Thank you guys for listening, tuning in. This is obviously just not about business, but it is personal life. It is um, just how strong we need to be for ourselves so that we can be strong for our clients, our family, our friends. Um, and then also understanding that it's not always about being strong. It is about opening your heart and being in a space, a safe space with other people around you. So thank you for always challenging me, brother. You have changed my life, and I think we will continue to change one another's lives. So we're
And
out.
I'm not letting you off the hook. I know you got to go. So you know how much I love my funny ending questions. And since you pretty much have me holding back my tears the last 20 minutes, give me your best, worst, most memorable cry here recently or as far back as you need to go.
Cry. Man, that's tough.
All right,
I
I'll give you
only
mine. I'll give you
All
mine. And
right. I only
look,
cry when I
for
get
30 seconds.
frustrated. Gosh.
I'm certainly not afraid to cry, but again, I also I'm
Mm.
super cool with kind of whatever happens, and I don't take much too serious. So I will tell you, after our daughter went off to college, of course, my beautiful wife loses her crap the whole 4-hour drive back home, and is just falling apart on me for a month. And it was about a month in that, and I hadn't shed a single tear over it. Of course, I missed her. I love her to death. And I walked by her bedroom, and I opened the door, and I walked in, and I just stood there for a second. And dude, I went back to my bed and I laid down. Amanda was already in there.
Bald.
I lost my shit. I just started crying, like had to get something to wipe my eyes away. And
Yeah.
I mean, just whatever, right? It was all of a sudden, it was like, I miss
Yeah. You
my
got
baby,
it.
proud of her
It
and all those
got
other
you.
things, Oh yeah, you get me.
Yeah. So I forgot about this but I lost my oldest friend a couple of months ago. We started playing football together when I was 9. He was 13 years old. And so 25 years later, he passed away from a heart condition. And I was able to hold myself together the entire time until I saw his family crying. And just the rush of memories, the rush of experiences, knowing that I'm at that age now where this might happen more than it did 20 years ago. And so that it was a cry of um, it was a cry of joy to celebrate, but there was also this need to release. And so I think sometimes, and especially in your adult life, we always, especially men, macho men, always want to put on this facade that we're okay, but when it hits you, it's coming, and you better be ready for it. And so, rest in peace, DeAndre. And baby girl she's growing up, man, at some point or another. I met her 8 years ago, so I know it's different on your end. That's your baby girl, but I'm seeing a grown lady. And so I just tip my hats off to you and Amanda for raising such phenomenal kids, dude. She is in the best of hands, and we wish her the best.
You're a good man, my friend. I love you. Be
Love you
good.
too, brother.
Hit this up again
Love
next
you
week.
too, brother. Yes, we will. Until next time.
Thanks, everybody.